G'day folks, welcome back to the Buddies podcast. Digital advertising for many small business owners is a real mystery. We don't know what to spend, where to spend it, and most importantly, how to measure the results. Today's guest, Frits Arkema, is an expert in digital advertising. He's got lots of great ideas for us. Let's say g'day to Frits. G'day Frits, welcome to the Buddies podcast. So what is digital advertising?
Hi Pete, thanks for having me. Digital advertising, it really consists of two words, digital and advertising. So I think advertising in general is contacting your target audience through media that are paid. So contrary to, for example, PR or organic outreach, advertising refers to anything that's paid. You would remember lots of advertising from the past on TV, paper, billboards, and so on. And anything that happens there. And then the word digital refers to things happening in the digital space. So often that's on a screen. So anything that's happening on computers, tablets, phones, other digital channels that I won't dive into too much.
Yeah.
But that's what it means in a nutshell.
Yes. And that's most of the time people are spending on devices are on those devices, not necessarily on traditional media or traditional television. Is that right?
So I think that's safe to say. People spend more time on their phone screen, especially these days, than looking at a TV screen.
Yes.
But what is interesting in that space is that a lot of TV advertising used to be done by buying these ads through a TV station, whereas these days with digital connected TVs, people using streaming service, people watching YouTube on the screen that's in the family room. A lot of those ads are now also considered digital advertising and not offline traditional advertising anymore.
So what are some of the biggest mistakes people make? What are the biggest mistakes you've seen with clients and potential clients when it comes to digital advertising?
Well, it all starts with your objective as a business. So I think anything that doesn't achieve your objective should either be a learning or it can be classified as a straight up mistake. So I think what I see a lot is that people advertise for the sake of advertising. So they might have heard that TikTok is the new thing, so they start buying ads on there, or they might see a competitor running Instagram ads, so they'll do the same. But I think it all starts with, what are you trying to achieve? And then finding the channel, the message, and whatever suits to that. And then another thing that's quite important is reporting. So it's often overlooked. It's not the sexiest topic. Like you'd rather be strategizing what video you're going to use and how you're going to make that super engaging, what it's going to look like, and so on. The words you're going to use is something you can discuss with the team for hours as well. But what a lot of people forget is just making sure that you are actually measuring measuring the metrics that matter, and then also setting up the tracking for that. And this is something that often comes at the end, right? Like the campaign's been running for a while, and then you want to see how it did, and you want a bit of a report. But really, it's the first thing you should think about. Like, for example, if you're a local service business, like a builder or a hairdresser, and you want to get more leads, like where do you count the leads? What do you qualify as a lead? Like, what's the source of truth? And then if you're going to use advertising, there's tracking code that needs to be set up probably on your website. So doing that beforehand, and however you want to do it, it's fine, but do that first before you turn anything live, so that either you get a lot of good results, or you can confidently say, this is why it didn't work.
Yes. And I guess those objectives can vary, can't they? Objective could be to like build a brand or launch a product or build awareness. Other objectives you've mentioned are things like, I want leads. I'm a local builder. I want leads from people that need renovations in their house, for example, or I could be entering a new market or a new geography. So there's a whole lot of different objectives I could be looking at. So I guess what I'm measuring is going to vary depending upon what my objective is. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. And then we always encourage our clients to just say what they need to make their business a success, right? And then we can help them translate that into digital marketing execution.
Yeah.
The first thing you think about as a business owner or a decision maker is not always what's actually going to do the trick. Yeah, we will often have businesses reach out to do Google Ads, and then after discussing them with them for a while, it seems to make more sense to do some ads on Meta because there's not a lot of existing awareness for their product, for
Yeah.
example. And there's lots of examples, and I think you're right. And there's lots of different objectives. So just say what you need, and as a business owner, you know exactly what your business needs to grow. And
Yes.
then,
Yeah.
you can find a digital marketing way to do it.
Because it's likely that the sort of small businesses that we're working with, the owners or the people running the business are likely to be like a product or service expert, like an expert in cookware or an expert in clothing or makeup or whatever they're selling. Probably not an expert in marketing, maybe not, or not particularly like digital marketing or digital advertising. There could be a fairly steep learning curve there. Do you find that with clients? Are you teaching them a lot rather than just providing a service?
Yes, 100%. But then also, this has definitely changed. So I
Yeah, yeah,
think when I started out 15 years ago, digital marketing was this big unknown world
yeah.
that people didn't know how to navigate. So the service you can provide as a consultant is highly technical, like an IT person almost. But
Mm-mm.
these days, it's not that hard to learn how to do Google ads or how to run ads on Meta, so Instagram and Facebook. There's a lot of documentation available. I
Okay,
often
okay.
compare this to cleaning the house. Like my wife wouldn't disagree, but I can clean pretty well. I just choose not to do it and prefer to run ads on Facebook and make money with that
Yeah,
while somebody else cleans the house. And I think it just makes more sense if somebody does that, who does it quicker, makes fewer mistakes, and it allows me to do other things. And I think it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
same for a business owner, right? Like if you're managing a team, you're managing your product or your service, you might be executing, right? You might be the practitioner in your business as well. Like all that time you spend running your own ads, which you won't do as good as somebody who's been doing it for a long time, can be used to do something else. Plus, a business owner will likely make some kind of mistake at some stage. People like me have made those mistakes many times and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't make them anymore. So you save that, and then it just becomes a choice of what you want to do with your time, and if it makes more sense to do something else while somebody else is running your advertising.
Yes, yes, because it's likely a successful small business owner would have a better use of their time, not investing time learning about digital advertising, rather
Yeah.
having an expert like you help them in that realm, and that they'll get better ROI using their time building their business in different ways.
Yeah, correct. And then one thing I'll add is that we really like working with businesses who understand marketing and they know what good looks like and they
Yeah, yeah,
appreciate that. And I think going back to the cleaner analogy, like I know when the kitchen is clean and I appreciate it when somebody did that and I understand the work that went into that. And then I'm also happy to pay for that. And I think it's the same with
yeah, yeah, yeah.
advertising, right? Like if somebody has already dabbled in Meta Ads Manager, knows what's involved, and then we can provide them with a great service and a value add. Yeah, that makes us really happy and it makes them really happy. So everybody wins.
Yes, yes. And while you say it's easy to learn, I don't think digital advertising is that easy to learn. Some of those platforms are quite complicated and they're changing quite regularly. Unless you've got a very technical mind and you're comfortable working in that environment and can learn that quickly, I'd suggest it's better off employing an expert rather than trying to learn it yourself because there's a lot to, even on the strategy side, like even you mentioned earlier, like getting the strategy right, getting the objectives right and the target audience right, thinking that through properly, that would be a better use of my time as a business owner than it
Yeah.
would be doing that and learning digital advertising as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So I think it's also important. So yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, of course, and this comes more naturally to some people
Yeah, yeah.
than others, and everybody's good at something. I do think that over the last few decades, it has become more and more available for
Yes.
the general population to do this by themselves. Advertising platforms like Google and Meta benefit from having more advertisers, so they make it as easy as possible for people
Yes.
to do, which also means that the skill has become more commoditized. It's less technical and more readily available. But that's just the handling on the platforms though. Like outside of just going and turning an ad live, there are things like you mentioned. Who is my audience? And do I have data on them? How do I best reach them? What's the best possible image? And what are the best words to use in my ads? And then also, very importantly, how much money am I going to spend on this? And if I spend more, what results can I expect? And so doing these things that kind of sit outside the execution on the platforms is, I think, where consultants and a service business like mine comes in to assist
Yes.
and provide skills that require time to build that you don't necessarily have if you're doing something else during the day.
Yes. And I guess what you're saying too, Fritz, is that you emphasize more the strategic side, not necessarily just working the platform, because you could potentially learn to work the platform, but unless the strategy's right, it's pretty useless. It could be a big waste of money. And I've seen a lot of small businesses try and do it themselves and say digital advertising doesn't work. But it wasn't so much the advertising that didn't work, it was the strategy that didn't work.
Yeah, correct. And I mean, our fence in the garden is falling down, and it's not because the fence is not working. It's because I tried to build one, and I'm not very good at it because I
Yeah,
haven't done
yeah,
it many times before, and YouTube only could teach me so much in a short amount of time. So I
yeah,
think the same counts for every other profession, right? Like if you do it
yeah,
more
yeah.
often, you get better at it, and then it makes sense to pay someone else to do it for you,
And
whilst you do.
you understand how it works. Like I'm a regular ocean swimmer in Manly, and one aspect of the ocean where we swim at the surf is rips. A lot of inexperienced swimmers are scared of rips and stay away from them.
Mhm.
If you're a more experienced swimmer, it's actually your friend, because if you jump in the rip, it carries you out. You can go much faster. You
Uh,
want that. And sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. Depends on the conditions and like longshore drift and different parts of how the beach is working. And someone that really knows what they're looking for and how to understand the surf can get a much easier time
yeah.
than someone that doesn't. And often I find in areas like digital advertising and digital marketing, people don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
They're not even aware of what they don't know, because their level of knowledge is so shallow, and things keep changing all the time. Yeah,
Yeah, no, 100%. And I
yeah,
think I think the people who are successful in my industry have a curious nature. They are people
yeah.
who like to learn. I don't want to say geeks necessarily, but it is that type of crowd who enjoys acquiring knowledge.
Are you a geek, Fritz?
I'd consider myself a bit of a geek. I like learning stuff and I
Yeah, yeah,
enjoy reading about updates that are happening in these platforms.
yeah.
Everybody has their nature, and I think that the profession suits a certain nature.
Yeah, geeks are good. Hey, folks, we're just taking a short break from our conversation to remind you that if you're enjoying this podcast content, you'd like more of this type of content and access to great workshops, join the Buddies community at buddies.com. That's the Buddies community at buddies.com. Now, let's get back to our conversation. So you mentioned earlier, you mentioned Meta and Google. So I'm imagining your primary focus is Google, YouTube, Instagram and Facebook. Is that right? They would
That's
be your
safe to say,
primary
yeah.
focus. And that's the bulk of social media anyway, or places you can advertise. Is that
Well,
fair to say?
I think it's the bulk of where the ad spend goes. Like
Yeah, yeah,
globally, those two companies, Meta and Google,
yeah.
take the biggest share of advertising dollars. There are many other places you can go, but yeah, most people advertise on Google and Meta, so that's where we specialize in because that's what most people need.
Yes.
Having said that, like we always start at the beginning with the objective and
Yes.
like how are we going to achieve what the business needs. If
Yeah.
that means having less competition, but maybe a smaller market and trying out a Microsoft search, which a lot of people use, Bing,
Mm-mm.
then sometimes it's cheaper to advertise on there and getting a better ROI. If you have an audience and a type of content that sits really well on TikTok, then we'll use TikTok. Like we're channel agnostic. We're not
Yeah.
married to any of these channels.
Yes.
So we just try to get what the business needs and then finding the channels to go with that.
Yes. It's interesting too. Just recently, I learned that Samsung has its own advertising business called Samsung Ads. And I realized that Samsung Ads plays on Samsung smart TVs. And I realized that, and I realized I've actually got a Samsung smart TV, right? And I didn't even know that that Samsung Ads existed, or it's such a narrow niche. You
Yeah,
think?
well, I don't know on a global level how narrow that is, right? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of Samsung TVs out there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
And they're serving up advertising content. And they've got their own like ad agency, if you like, that
Yeah,
sells Samsung as a platform to advertise. I'd say a lot of people would not even be aware that that exists. So if I've got an audience that is likely to be people that consume TV through a Samsung television, and Samsung have a lot of research on this, that could be a useful place for me to be. But I have no idea that that even exists as a place.
and then once again, it's all about return on investment, right?
ROI, yeah,
ROI.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you can find an audience there at a better rate,
yeah,
great. And it's the same thing. Like what we often hear is like we don't want to advertise on Facebook because my target audience is 25 years old. I know that on average, the Facebook user is older than somebody on TikTok. That's true. But it
yeah.
doesn't mean that there are no 25-year-olds on
On
Facebook.
Facebook. And the opposite of that is that I do a lot of organic content, right? Like on platforms like YouTube and Facebook and Insta. And I got recommended I should make content on for TikTok. So I just took
Yeah.
some YouTube reels and put them on TikTok. I was thinking there's nobody old enough to appreciate the content I'm creating.
Yeah.
But TikTok was performing 10 times better than YouTube for my content.
Well,
A
there you
factor of
go.
10. Yeah, it's bizarre. You actually don't know until you try it, right?
Yeah. And you don't even do dance moves in your videos.
No, luckily I don't. Otherwise, I'd probably get banned from TikTok.
Well, in digital marketing, we always say test and learn. You don't know until you try.
Test and roll out. Test and roll out. Yeah, so I guess the lesson there is you don't know. You don't even know what you don't know because you don't know. And platforms like TikTok are attempting to become more of a search engine and get a broader base. So if you've got content that appeals to an older demographic or an older audience, maybe that's better for you. Well, who knows?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like test and learn, and you can also take that to the extreme and test what you already know, and that's not very smart. But if you're not sure
Yeah.
what channel works for you, test them out until you have significant results,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
try. Like that's how we saw some of the biggest wins for
Yeah.
clients, just trying something out of the ordinary. I think Bing, Microsoft search engine, is a
Yeah.
really good example. They serve ads just like Google does. A lot
Yeah.
of Windows computers come with it pre-installed and
That's true.
pre-configured so that
That's
people just
true.
start using it without thinking about it. And you might
Yeah.
be serving ads for 10% of the price that you would pay on Google.
Yeah, that's true. I'm curious too. Like, I was just talking about like organic reach, and thinking about like because some of our businesses might be making organic content relative to their product, and they might have a favorite platform. Like
Yeah.
there might be their favorite platform could be Instagram, for example. They've got much experience with other platforms. They think, oh, Instagram's the best one. That's the one that I use. That's where I get all my leads. We think, well,
Yeah.
maybe is there a correlation there between the highest performing platforms organically and highest performing in terms of advertising, or is there no correlation there?
I wouldn't say so per se. Yeah, so I mean, there's I'm trying to define some kind of rule around it, which would take into account millions of businesses with millions of target audience and a lot of different setups there, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
it's hard to make a general statement about that. But I mean, for example, when TikTok just started, people were getting amazing results with viral videos that didn't require a dollar of ad spend,
yeah, yeah.
whilst Facebook was still serving their ads at a very reliable rate and being the foundation of their marketing strategy because it was very predictable. Yeah, so then TikTok would perform well organically and Facebook was doing the heavy lifting from a paid point of view. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
So
think there's a correlation per
there's no
se, and there's
correlation.
and
Yeah,
there's a lot of different examples as well
yeah.
to
Okay. So what would you suggest to someone that is considering digital? I'm imagining a lot of small businesses are thinking digital advertising is something I should learn more about. I should explore whether that would be good for my business or not. What would you suggest to somebody like that?
Well, define what you need first.
Yeah, yeah,
So just set your objective, right? Like, and you know what's keeping you up at night. If it's finding new audiences, if it's getting existing users to purchase again,
yeah.
if it's brand awareness, like you already know the problem. So define that, then brief someone who knows what they're doing on your problem and ask what can be done. So that's, I guess that's the done for you and handing it over approach. You can also learn yourself. Meta and Google, which are, the two of the biggest companies in the world, take most of the advertising dollars. They have excellent resources available to learn. Self-guided courses, you can take exams and you can become an expert at it, or maybe even find out if it's for you. So I think it depends. So firstly, it depends, like, how much do you want to do yourself? And then if you want to do a lot yourself, take the courses. If you want to hand it over to somebody else, find a good expert who can help you based on your brief and your business problem.
Yes, and if people are interested in reaching out to you, we're going to leave your contact details in the show notes if they'd like to reach out
awesome.
to
And
Fritz.
always happy to have a chat as well. We always provide free audits on your business, on your Google and your Meta ads account if you already have them. So
Okay.
I think we also like hearing how people run their businesses and what people do. So always happy to have a chat.
Well, I appreciate you being a guest today on the Buddies podcast, Fritz.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks for listening to this Buddies podcast. To get all the podcasts and great workshops, visit buddies.com and join our community. We'll see you there. Bye for now.